Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Shri Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, dear Prabhujis, we are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized, and we are going to read the 70th verse, another very beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita. So Lord Shri Krishna, he continues his teachings to Arjunji, and he says, Apuryamana machala pratishtham samudramapa pravishanti yadvad tadvad kama yam pravishanti sarve sashantimapnoti na kama kami. Apuryamaणं machala pratishtham samudramapa pravishanti yadvad tadvad kamayam pravishanti sarve sashantimapnoti na kama kami. It's a very beautiful verse. Apuryamanam, always filled, achala pratishtham, steadily situated. Samudram, the ocean, apaha, water, pravishanti, enter, yadvad, as. Tadvad, so, kamaha, desires, yam, unto one. Pravishanti, enter, sarve, all, sah, that person, shantim, peace. Apnoti, achieves. Na, not, kama, kami, one who desires to fulfill desires. So a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers in the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudramapah pravishanti yadvat tadvad kama yam pravishanti sarve sashantimapnoti na kam kami. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers in the ocean, which is ever filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So in the purport, Swami Srila Prabhupada writes, although the vast ocean is always filled with water, it is always, especially during the rainy season, being filled with much more water. But the ocean remains the same, steady. It is not agitated, nor does it cross beyond the limit of its brink. That is also true of a person fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one has the material body, the demands of the body for sense gratification will continue. The devotee, however, is not disturbed by such desires because of his fullness. So a Krishna conscious man is not in need of anything because the Lord fulfills all his material necessities. Therefore, he is like the ocean, always full in himself. Desires may come to him like the waters of the rivers that flow into the ocean, but he is steady in his activities and he is not even slightly disturbed by desires for sense gratification. That is the proof of a Krishna conscious man, one who has lost all inclination for material sense gratification. Although the desires are present, because he remains satisfied in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he can remain steady like the ocean and therefore enjoy full peace. Others, however, who fulfill desires even up to the limit of liberation, what to speak of material success, never attain peace. The fruitive workers, the salvationists, and also the yogis who are after mystic powers are all unhappy because of unfulfilled desires. But the person in Krishna consciousness is happy in the service of the Lord. and he has no desires to be fulfilled. In fact, he does not even desire liberation from the so-called material bondage. The devotees of Krishna have no material desires and therefore they are in perfect peace. So very very beautiful verse Lord Shri Krishna is trying to explain Arjunji and all of us. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham. Achala pratishtham. So steady, achala pratishtham. And Lord Shri Krishna is giving the example of ocean. Samudramapaha pravishanti yadvat. The way so many rivers they enter into the ocean, they merge with the ocean. And especially during the rainy season, Swami Srila Prabhupada wrote in the purport. So especially in the rainy season, the rivers are over flooded and all that water goes in the ocean, but the ocean is always steady. Because of rains, the rivers they become unsteady and they are over flooded. So all the rivers they merge, most of the rivers, those who merge in those who are able to reach all the rivers, they try to move towards the sea or the ocean, and those who are able to merge, they merge in the ocean, especially during the rainy season. So already ocean is full. Ocean is a very vast body of water and it has lot of water, and even more water enters into the ocean during the rainy season, but the ocean does not cross its brink. It's always steady. Apuryamanam, always filled. Achala pratishtham, steadily situated. Samudram, the ocean. Apaha, water. Pravishanti, enters. Yadvad, as. Tadvad, so kamaha, desires. Tadvad kamayam pravishanti sarve. So even all sort of material desires, even if they enter in the mind, the senses, the Swami Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport, as long as one will have a material body in this material world, one will have material, the senses and the mind, they will always, there are chances, and not there are not chances because the senses and mind, they are habituated for fruitive activities, for enjoyment, material enjoyment from time immemorial. So habit is the second nature. Swami Srila Prabhupada always used to say, habit is one's second nature. So because the senses and mind they are habituated, so as long as one has a material body in this material world, so the demands of mind, material mind and the senses will continue. One will get material desires as long as one has a material body, but if a person is situated in divine consciousness, if a person is engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Lord, loving transcendental, loving devotional service of the Supreme Lord, then he is already satisfied. He is already satisfied, he is already happy, he is complete in himself. And hence he is not hankering when one has already eaten. Swami Srila Prabhupada has explained in the previous purports. When one has already eaten lots of sumptuous, palatable dishes, prasadam, then one does not hanker more for unpalatable foodstuffs. So a Krishna conscious man is always, and that is the test of a Krishna conscious man. Swami Srila Prabhupada wrote in the purport, he is no more after material sense gratification, material enjoyment. But as long as one has a material body in this material world, the demands of the senses, the demands of the material senses and the demand of the material minds will always be there. And hence one may have all sort of survey. Lord Shri Krishna told, Samudram tadvad kama yam pravishanti sarve, tadvad kama, in the similar way, even if lot of kamas, material desires, they enter in the mind of a devotee, he is not disturbed. He is always steady, like the ocean. The ocean is complete in itself, and even though lot of rivers, especially in the rainy season, they merge in the ocean, in the rainy season, the rivers they become very unsteady and they are over flooded and they merge into the ocean. But the ocean is always steady. Ocean is complete in itself. Ocean is a vast body of water. It is complete in itself. It is always full. So similarly, devotees of the Supreme Lord, or those who are engaged in the transcendental devotional service of the Supreme Lord, those who are trying to satisfy the Supreme Lord through their devotional activities, through their senses, through their bodies, through their mind, through their intellect, and through their possessions, they are always complete in themselves and their intelligence is always steady. They are always steady on the path of loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And that is the test of a Krishna conscious being. In the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is explained, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashant. Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashant Krishna Bhakta. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ataeva Shant. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained that everyone in this material world, whoever he may be, Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami, so people may be after material sense enjoyment, or they may be after some yogic powers, Siddhi. So Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, they may be after material liberation from this material world. So there are people who have understood that material body, material life is the cause of suffering. So they want to get liberated, but they want to get merged in the supreme absolute truth. They want to finish their existence, but they do not want to engage in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. So Swami Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport, what to speak of material success. Those who are karmis, those who are engaged in sakam karma, those who are engaged in fruitive activities, they are working very hard. And they are working very hard, very smart, to fulfill their material desires, to get all material success. So people are after success, material success. People are after power, yogic powers and siddhis. And people are up to the point of, Swami Srila Prabhupada said, up to the point of liberation. They want to serve themselves. That is the difference between a devotee and rest of the people or rest of the beings. The devotee of the Supreme Lord, he just want to satisfy the Supreme Lord, because of which he is always complete and he is always full. The transcendental reciprocation, loving reciprocation which he receives from the Supreme Lord, because of that he is always satisfied and always happy. Even his material needs, as Swami Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport, even his material necessities are always they are supplied by the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is supplying necessities to everybody in this material world. So for the devotees also, why the Supreme Lord, Swami Srila Prabhupada always questioned, the Supreme Lord is feeding to big animals in the jungle. They do not work hard like human beings, but still they also get all their material necessities and they also live in this world. So Supreme Lord is supplying everyone's necessities and needs. So the Supreme Lord mercifully he take care of the devotee in a very nice way, and all the material needs, necessities of a devotee are fulfilled by the grace of the Supreme Lord. So even materially, and the devotees of the Supreme Lord, they also get transcendental reciprocation in the form of love of the Supreme Lord, in the form of care of the Supreme Lord, and hence their mind and their senses are transcendentally satisfied. So they do not hanker for material sense enjoyment, and that is the test of a person who is situated in Krishna consciousness or divine consciousness. So all the rest of the people, all those who are trying to satisfy their material desires, all those who are hankering for some yogic powers and siddhis, and others who want to finish off their material existence and they want to get liberation, salvation from this material world, they are also unhappy because ultimately they want to serve themselves. But the devotees of the Supreme Lord, they even do not want, the pure devotees of Supreme Lord, they do not want even to get out of this material entanglement. They only and only want to serve the Supreme Lord always. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his teachings, in his Siksha Ashtakam, he told that he do not want liberation. Life after life, he only wants service to the Supreme Lord. And because of the service, because of doing transcendental loving devotional service of the Supreme Lord, because of engaging oneself and one's senses, one's mind, one's intelligence in the service of the Supreme Lord, the devotees of the Supreme Lord are always complete in themselves, and they are always happy, and they are not hankering for material sense enjoyment and sense gratification. So a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers in the ocean which is ever filled, samudram apaha pravashanti yadvat, but is always still, can alone achieve peace. So that is the real peace formula. Tadvad kam yam pravashanti sarve sa shanti apnoti. A person who does not go after, even though the material desires may come in the mind or the senses and the material mind, they may demand material sense enjoyment, but a person who is not disturbed, who remains achala, always steady, achala pratishtham, he only is peaceful in real sense. So that is the real peace, perfect peace. The devotees of the Krishna have no material desires and therefore they are in perfect peace. Swami Srila Prabhupada explained. And Lord Shri Krishna is also in that way, sa shanti apnoti na kama kami, can alone achieve peace and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. Although the vast ocean is always filled with water, it is always, especially during the rainy season, being filled with much more water. But the ocean remains the same, steady. It is not agitated, nor does it cross beyond the limits of its brink. That is also true of a person fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one has the material body, the demands of the body for sense gratification will continue. The devotee, however, is not disturbed by such a desire because of his fullness. A Krishna conscious man is not in need of anything because the Lord fulfills all his material necessities. Therefore, he is like the ocean, always full in himself. Desires may come to him like the waters of the rivers that flow into the ocean, but he is steady in his activities and he is not even slightly disturbed by the desires for sense gratification. That is the proof of a Krishna conscious man. One who has lost all inclinations for material sense gratification, although the desires are present. So the desires, as long as one has material body or one is not completely, one do not get his constitutional spiritual body, so one may have material desires. But by the dint of devotional service to the Supreme Lord, or when one engages in the transcendental loving devotional service of the Supreme Lord, then one gets transcendental satisfaction, transcendental loving reciprocation of the Supreme Lord, by which one senses and one mind are completely satisfied, and hence one's intelligence is always fixed in Krishna consciousness. One's intelligence is steady. So, because he remains satisfied in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he can remain steady like the ocean and therefore enjoy full peace. Others, however, who fulfill desires even up to the limit of liberation, what to speak of material success, never attain peace. The fruity workers, the salvationists, and also the yogis who are after mystic power, bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kami, sakali ashant. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam, the devotees of the Lord are Nishkam, they do not desire anything for themselves. Atha eva shant, so they attain to perfect peace. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam, Atha eva shant. So the fruity workers, the salvationist, Mukti, Bhukti, Mukti, and also the yogis, Siddhi Kami, who are after mystic powers, are all unhappy because of the unfulfilled desires. So the ultimate desire of every living entity is to lord over material nature, is to become the Supreme Lord, which is not actually possible. The Supreme Lord is Shri Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna. He is the Supreme Personality of God, and He has got many incarnations and expansions. And all the living entities are His separated part and parcels. And the part and parcel, they can never become the whole. And they are very, very minute. Anor Anyan Mahato Mahiyan. So every living entity, qualitatively, every living being is equal to the Supreme Lord, because he also possesses some of the qualities of the Supreme Lord. But the qualities one living entity possesses, they are very, very minute, because the Supreme Lord is Vibhu, and he has got infinite. The Supreme Lord, the living entities in this mortal world and even in the spiritual world, we cannot count them. They are infinite, innumerable, and sarvagataha, they are everywhere. In the material world, they are in all the planetary systems, 14 planetary systems, and then there is a spiritual world, Tripad Vibhuti. So this material world is only 1/4 of the creation of the Supreme Lord, and the spiritual world is 3/4, 3 times bigger than the material manifestation, bigger than the material creation, 3 times bigger. So there are innumerable, infinite living entities, but all are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And qualitatively, each living entities, they have some qualities of the Supreme Lord, but the Supreme Lord has got infinite qualities, infinite transcendental qualities, and hence nobody can compete to the Supreme Lord in that sense. But that is the root cause of fall down of every living entity. That is, lording over the living entity, want to become Lord or want to lord over the material nature as much as he can, and he is striving, he is trying very hard. So sometimes he becomes a fruity worker, sometimes he becomes a salvationist, sometimes he desires liberation, sometimes he desires some yogic power, sometimes he desires opulence, but he is never satisfied, he is never peaceful because of his unfulfilled desires. But the person in Krishna consciousness is happy in the service of the Lord, and he has no desires to be fulfilled. In fact, he does not even desire liberation from the so-called material bondage. Mam Janmani Janmanishware, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is Lord Shri Krishna himself in the mood of the topmost devotee in the entire creation, material and spiritual creation, Radharani. So Radharani being the topmost of the devotees, So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, Mam Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatad Bhakti Ahetuki Tvai. So he is so much satisfied in the transcendental devotional service of the Supreme Lord that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not caring even about liberation. So one may, wherever a devotee, for a devotee, the Swami Srila Prabhupada has explained that for a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, even hell is as good as Vaikuntha, because he is always engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. So he is always in transcendental, joyful condition. He is always transcendently full. He is always satisfied, and hence his intelligence is always steady. And hence a devotee of the Supreme Lord can be happy even in this material world if he becomes completely pure, completely free from all his anarthas, and if he is situated in 100% Krishna consciousness, then one can be happy even in this material world while engaged in the transcendental loving devotional service of the Supreme Lord. So in fact, he does not even desire liberation from the so-called material bondage. The devotees of Krishna have no material desires, and therefore they are in perfect peace. So very wonderful verse, Apuryamana Machala Pratishtham Samudramapah Pravishanti Yadvad Tadvad Kama Yam Pravashanti Sarve Sashanti Mapnoti Na Kama Kami. Not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So a person who tries to satisfy material desires which come in mind and the senses, he can never be peaceful. Whereas a person who is trying to serve the Supreme Lord, even though he may have material desires, the senses and the material senses and the mind, they may demand material enjoyment, but because one is engaged in the transcendental loving devotional service of the Supreme Lord, he gets all satisfaction, and he do not hanker, or he do not attempt. A devotee of the Supreme Lord, a person who is trying to serve the Supreme Lord, who is situated in divine consciousness, does not try to satisfy the material senses and the mind, and hence he is always peaceful. Whereas the person who tries to satisfy the demands, material demands of senses and the mind, he is not peaceful. And if there is no peace, Lord Shri Krishna, as he explained in the previous verses, Ashantasya kuto sukham. So one who is not peaceful, where is the question of happiness? So materialistic people, those who are after temporary enjoyment, they are never actually peaceful and happy in the real sense. Whereas devotees of the Supreme Lord who do not hanker after temporary material enjoyment, they are always peaceful and happy. Like ocean, who is always complete and steady. So wonderful verse, Apuryamana Machala Pratishtham Samudramapaha Pravishanti Yatvat. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So in our next session we will try to read and understand the next verse from Bhagavad Gita. Till then I would like to stop this session here. Javam Vishnupad Paramhans Parivrajacharya Shrotarasha Shri Srimati Divine Grace Abhay Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ji Ki Jai. All glories to His Divine Grace, Krishna Kripa Murti, Abhay Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Bhagavad Gita, all glories to Lord Shri Krishna, all glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Holy Name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.